The reason that I ended up buying this Juke Nismo is because I had a Sentra SR before that with an automatic, and the CVT went out. So when Nissan told me it was going to cost $5,000 to $6,000 to replace my transmission, I decided that was the time to trade it in. I started looking online, and I knew for sure I wanted something in a manual, and I wanted Nissan because that's my brand. And I was very limited in my options. Came across this at a Subaru dealership, and I couldn't turn it down. I just liked it a lot. It's different. This Juke is a manual 1.6 liter engine. It's a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. All the Jukes are all turbocharged, even the base models, which is kind of good. This one has 200 horsepower as compared to the 80 horsepower of the non-Nismo Juke. The Juke is built on a Versa chassis, so it shares a lot of the same stuff with the Versa. It's about the same size and interior room as a Versa. It shares the same engine, only the difference between the Juke engine and the Versa engine is the Jukes are all turbo and the Versa is not. These front seats right here, these Nismo seats here, they've got to be some of the most comfortable seats of any car that I've ever been in. One thing I'm a fan of and do like on this Nismo Juke, especially on the front wheel drive models like mine, is they give you this little cubby hole. So what's cool about this little cubby hole down here is it folds underneath the floor, so you have the trunk or the floor of the hatch here, and you can lift this little handle in here. And then down in here, they have this little tub for storing all sorts of things. This is where I'll keep my spare tools. I'll keep some of my stuff back here that I don't want anybody to see. And if you ever go anywhere and you need to get all your stuff out, this entire section here pulls out like this, and you can lift it and pull it completely out. I'm not going to do it because I've only got one hand free right now, but this whole thing comes completely out. The maintenance on the Juke is very cheap. I mean, the oil change on the Juke, I could do the oil change on this Juke in like 10 minutes, maybe 15 if I take my time. And it's cheap. And it's so easy to do. I'm probably going to put another video up that shows you how to do an oil change on the Juke, because it's super easy. It's so easy even Ferg can do it. I actually upgraded the clutch and flywheel when I blew up the engine on this thing. A lot of people may or may not know, but I actually did blow up the engine on this thing. I shifted wrong going from 6th to what I thought was 5th and ended up snapping 3rd going 80. And this thing just blew up and caught fire on me on the side of the road. And my mechanics, the guys over at Controlled Chaos, as I call them, my team of engineers over there, they put the new engine in, and they told me I was going to need a new clutch and flywheel. And at that point, I thought, well, I think I'm going to upgrade the clutch and flywheel. So I did. I put a stage 1 clutch and flywheel in there. It works great. I love it. Shifts are real smooth. The engagement is really good, and it kicks pretty hard, and it doesn't quite hang the revs like the stock factory one does, or did. I like the gas mileage on this Juke. Depending on how I drive, I can get some really good gas mileage out of this thing. I can probably get on average about 29 to 30 miles a gallon. If I don't drive like a complete maniac, I could probably get about 30 to 32 miles a gallon. I like the fact that this Juke is a 6-speed manual transmission. I'm a big standard buff. I've always driven manual transmissions. I love being able to shift gears. It's pretty good in the power band. And it drives wonderful. Acceleration is great with the manual compared to a CVT. I'm not a huge fan of the brakes in this car. You still kind of have to put your foot in it to get a good stop out of it. I mean, yeah, maybe I could spend all the extra money and upgrade to a more aggressive pad or a more aggressive rotor and stuff, but this isn't a race car. It's just my daily driver. You would think that even daily, everyday vehicles would have better brakes than this. Driven other vehicles like Versas and Sentras and stuff, this Nismo Juke feels about as good as the Sentras and the Versas that I've driven in the brakes. So this is going to be some footage of the cargo space of the rear. As you can see in here, there really isn't a whole lot of cargo space. There's not really much to say about cargo space is one of the bad things I really don't particularly like too much about this Juke is there's hardly any space in there for any kinds of luggage or anything. And there's another downside of the Juke is if you look in here, tiny back seats. This is where I sit with my seat this far back, and if I try and squeeze somebody in there, it's going to be a tight fit behind me. I don't like the fact that there's no manual transmission in the all-wheel drive models. For whatever reason, Nissan is not building a lot of manual transmissions in their all-wheel drive vehicles, and I can't understand why. They say it's because of the technology of the automatics and blah 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 whatever, but I actually wanted an all-wheel drive model of these Jukes when I was looking at them, but then the dealership guy told me that they only make automatic CVTs in the all-wheel drive Jukes. Now, I cannot believe they don't make the Nissan Juke anymore. Everybody wants one now. And it's typical for Nissan lovers to do that. Nissan people are a strange breed of people because they always seem to like cars that aren't made anymore. They made a newer version of the Juke, and they're not going to release it in the States, which is a little disappointing. I like this Juke for what it is. You can't really beat it. I mean, how many other turbo SUV manuals can you find out there? As you look around out there, a lot of people are going away from manuals, so it's nice to know that Nissan can still make a small scale, smaller, turbocharged manual SUV with a 6-speed and front-wheel drive. Can't beat that. And I'm actually starting to like being higher off the ground. When I drive the Juke, I don't have to worry about going over any bumps or speed bumps or potholes. I mean, there have been times on the highway where I follow the trucks and just dive down in the grass because, you know, I'm trying to get out of the traffic. I couldn't do that in my car. There's also a very decent following for the mods on these cars. Even though they don't make the Juke anymore, and they only make them in Europe, there's a pretty decent following to find some pretty decent mods. You've got a lot of decent, good companies that'll come out here and find some great mods for you. So it's kind of cool.